Up next is the App of the Week segment. This is a segment dedicated to app demonstrations. Should you have an app that you would like to demonstrate for our listeners, feel free to send us the recording of such an app demo to contact us at blindandroidusers.com. And now for this week's episode, here's your App of the Week.
And now we conclude this episode with an App of the Week. And Warren waxes lyrical about Candle GPS.
Hi, for episode 198 App of the Week, this is demonstrating a navigational app simply called Candle, C-A-N-D-L-E. A candle to light your path. This is coming to us via a developer from Germany by the name of Andreas. I have tried this app and I'm demonstrating it to you today. And I do want to mention here in passing that there are some shortcomings with this app. And most importantly, that's the fact that it lacks the speaking out of your directions using a TTS output, which is a major shortcoming in my never to be humble opinion. I am on the play page of the app and I'll now navigate to the About, and I'm demonstrating this on my Pixel 9 Pro XL. I'll now navigate to that About and let's hear the description of the app.
About this app heading. Google Play Store. Candle details out of list. Accessible navigation app for the visually impaired. Discover seamless and accessible navigation with our app designed specifically for blind and visually impaired users. Our innovative solution empowers you to effortlessly save points of interest and navigate with confidence to your desired destinations. Engineered with full talkback support, our app ensures complete voiceover functionality, making it exceptionally user-friendly for those with visual impairments. Experience the freedom of intuitive navigation tailored to meet the unique needs of visually impaired individuals. Whether you're navigating daily commutes, running errands, or exploring new places, our app offers the perfect blend of simplicity and reliability. Embrace a world where visual limitations no longer hinder your mobility and independence. Join our community of users who have found enhanced mobility and confidence in their daily navigation. Download now and redefine your navigation experience with our accessible app, where every journey is made easier.
And that's the description of the app. I'll go back.
Play Store. About this app heading.
And now I'll scroll back to the top and tap on Open.
Open button. Candle. Main menu, heading out of list.
We're now in the menu eye of the app, and I do want to mention here in passing that there are no ads whatsoever, and that's the beauty of this. And so once this shortcoming that I mentioned earlier on got fixed, then I think we'll have a great app here for navigational purposes. I am in the menu eye, and there are no buttons here to speak of besides the one on the top right corner, which is like the settings, is called Configuration.
Configure or change settings of the app button.
And moving down from there,
Main menu, heading.
We've got Main menu, and below that, from left to right across the screen,
Navigate to address button.
We have a navigate to an address. So basically, if you tap here, though, you will be entering the address to the place that you want to navigate to. Before we get to that, though, we have some 6 buttons here arranged from left to right. There are 3 rows or 3 columns of that. So 1 to the left, 1 to the right, and then below that, 1 to the left and 1 to the right. And then on the 3rd row, 1 to the left and 1 to the right. Here are the buttons that I'm talking about. The first one on the left,
Compass to north button.
we have a compass, which means if you tap here, it will tell you the direction that your phone is pointing at. And then to the right of that,
Save current location in your favorites button.
you could tap on that to save your current location as a favorite. Now, below that compass,
Record a track for later use button.
there, and to the right of that,
Point of interest radar button.
and below the recording of your track is,
Share your location button.
and the last button to the right.
About this app button.
Those are the 6 buttons we find below that button that says tap to navigate or enter an address to navigate to a place. At the bottom of the phone, however, we've got a total of 6 tabs. Starting from the very left, though, is the overview, which is on by default. And going right, here's what we got.
Overview screen, tab 1 of 6, selected.
Moving right,
Location screen, tab 2 of 6.
right,
Route screen, tab 3 of 6.
right,
Voice pin screen, tab 4 of 6.
right,
Point of interest screen, tab 5 of 6.
and the last tab on the right.
A radar which show locations in the given direction, tab 6 of 6.
Those are the only tabs that we have there at the bottom. Let's take a quick look, though, at the configurations, that is the settings there on the top right corner of the phone, and see what the configuration is like.
Configure or change settings of the app button. Back button. New screen opened, settings screen.
Gives you a little bit of hint, and this is something that some people have complained about. That's a little bit too chatty, and maybe the guy could kind of cut back on that, or make it a toggle to where if you want to hear those hints, you could hear those. Now let's move on and see what we have here in the configuration page.
Configure the buttons on the overview page.
And below that,
On, compass on home screen, switch.
so the compass is there on the home screen. If you don't want it, you could uncheck this, basically turning it off if you don't want that on your home screen. Those are the 6 buttons I was talking about in the overview tab. Moving on down.
On, location, switch.
Next.
On, point of interest radar, switch.
Next.
On, route recording, switch.
Next.
On, share, switch.
Next.
GPS settings for this app.
We now come to a heading for GPS settings, and below that,
Off, allow permanent access, switch.
in other words, if you wanted to have permanent access to your location, you could turn that on. For me, though, I only wanted to have access to my location while I'm using the app, so I have this one turned off. By default, it's off. Next,
Common features for this app.
we come across a heading for common features, and below that,
On, enable dictation input, switch.
in other words, if you don't want to use a voice dictation when you're trying to type in an address, you could turn this off so that you don't have that button to the right of the edit field. Next.
On, vibrating compass, switch.
Next.
On, vibrate feedback during routing, switch.
Next.
Not well-tested beta features.
We now come across something in beta, and here's what we got.
On, route recording, switch.
And that's all that we have in the settings. I'll now go back to the main UI.
Configure or change settings of the app button.
Now, I'm going to show some quick things here before I bring this to a close. Let's tap on that compass, though, and see what I'm talking about.
Compass to north button. A compass that can announce the cardinal direction to you, heading. New screen opened, a compass that can announce the cardinal direction to you, northeast.
And I'm going to
Northeast.
move around.
North.
You feel the vibration.
Northwest. For optimal compass performance, please hold your phone horizontally. West. Southwest. South. Southeast. Southeast. East.
You got the drift.
Northeast.
And at the bottom is a close button.
Close button. Compass to north button.
And now, going back to the top,
You are at 481 horizon.
it says I'm at 481, and that's not my address at all. That's one thing to keep in mind. For some reason, sometimes it doesn't give you the right address. So if you're going to be entering your address as a starting point, you want to type in your address, and it'll populate it within the suggested addresses, and be sure to tap on the one that matches your correct address, because I noticed that it doesn't often get the right address where you're located at. Also, it does not have imperial measurements. It seems this is all a matrix. Now, below that, though, let's tap on that place to navigate to an address.
Navigate to address button.
And I tap.
Text input field. On the right, there's a button for speech input support. Showing English US QWERTY. New screen opened. Enter part of an address to find matches. Select the best one.
There we have it, and here we could type in the address, or to the right of that edit field is voice dictation. I'm going to use the voice dictation, and I'm going to ask it to bring up the address to my local post office here.
Speech input.
202 East Seattle Avenue.
Your voice input 202 East Seattle Avenue. Keyboard hidden.
And now I'll put my finger down and see if it pops up in the suggested addresses.
Text suggested addresses heading. 202 East Seattle Avenue, Moxie, Washington 98936, United States.
And I tap.
A compass that can announce the cardinal direction to 202 East Seattle Avenue, Moxie, Washington 98936, United States, heading 145 degrees to your left to directly face the target location. New screen opened. A compass that can announce the cardinal direction to 202 East Seattle Avenue, Moxie, Washington 98936, United States.
And now moving my finger down.
417 meter. Start navigation button.
And at the bottom there is a start navigation. Now, as I indicated earlier, it does not have a TTS readout. So in other words, it means you have to have the screen open. And to me, I think that defeats that purpose, because the whole idea, though, is for you to put your phone in your pocket and either hear it being spoken or spoken through a headset, whatever the choice may be. I have contacted the developer about this, and he's going to work on that. I think this is an app that has a great potential, and once those areas are fixed, we will have a very good app. Let's now look at these tabs quickly before we bring this to a close. Let's start with location.
Location screen, tab 2 of 6.
If I tap,
Home.
I have my location named as home. Now, above the tabs at the bottom, the one at the bottom right, the last tab on the bottom right, above that is a button that says
Button, give the location a name to save it in your favorites.
You could tap there if you haven't given it a name
Detected
yet. You tap
icon,
on that
add image.
and then you just add the name of the location. So it's not just showing the address, but whatever name you decide to give it. Now, moving from location, the third tab we have.
Root screen, tab 3 of 6.
And if I tap here,
Looks like you haven't recorded any routes yet. Discover the joy of seamless navigation with Candle's route recording. Record your journeys from exploring new destinations to returning to familiar comforts. Start today and let Candle guide you confidently every step of the way. Experience the freedom of reliable navigation right at your fingertips.
and now let's move to the fourth tab.
Voice pin screen, tab 4 of 6.
Tab.
Recorded message 9 meters away, house door entry. New screen opened.
And that's where you could record like, hey, when you get to your house, it could just tell it to you that, hey, you're now at your door. And that's what I did with mine. So it's telling you what I called mine. So when I get here, it will tell me my door is this way or that way. Let's move to the next tab.
Point of interest screen, tab 5 of 6.
And if I tap, we got some suggestions.
There are 11 categories in the list below available.
And they're also arranged left to right, so the rows and columns. Here's what we got.
Crossing button. Bars button. ATMs button. Restaurants button. Hospitals button. Cafes button. Bus stations button. Taxis button. Pharmacies button. Audible signals button. Public toilets button.
And that's the last one, and we'll leave it out there in the toilet. And now, moving to the last item on our bottom right tab, that will be
a radar which show locations in the given direction, tab 6 of 6.
if I tap,
Northwest. Northwest, 0 nearby locations. New screen opened, location radar screen. North, 0 nearby locations. Northeast, 0 nearby locations. For optimal compass performance, please hold your phone horizontally. East, 0 nearby locations. Northeast, 0 nearby locations. Northwest, 0 nearby locations. West, 0 nearby locations. Southwest, 0 nearby locations. South, 0 nearby locations. Southeast, 0 nearby locations.
I just navigated out of that window because there are no points of interest to show here where I live in a very little town. But now you have an understanding of what the app is all about, and I hope that the guy brings that TTS readout so we could hear where we're navigating to, so we don't have to be touching the screen to know where we're at. I hope you like that, and let that candle light your path. Thanks for listening.
So you thought this app has a bit of potential, didn't you, Warren?
I really do. I really like the thought process that was put into the app, and just a few shortcomings, as I indicated. Once those things are taken care of, I think we'll have a nice, decent app, navigational app to use. And so I'm really looking forward to Andreas working on that. He's told me he's going to work on that.
Have you used it in anger? Have you been anywhere with it? I mean, I guess it shouldn't really affect accuracy, should it? Because that should be driven by the GPS receiver in your phone. But have you tried it out in the wild?
Yeah, I did. I took it to the little post office here, local post office here in my area, and it was just vibrating, which meant I needed to touch to know what it's saying, and that's the part that I don't like. I want it, spoken, because like I said, I don't want to be holding my phone while I'm navigating around. I think that's so silly. I want it in my pocket, not holding my phone. And most especially, let's say if you're blind, of course, maybe you have your cane or maybe you have something else in your hand. That's too much of stuff to be carrying. So I want to put my phone in my pocket, and if you have a earbud or whatever that you want to hear that direction through, that's how it ought to be.
And if you're touching your phone while it's in your pocket, there's the possibility that you look ever so slightly questionable, don't you, depending on which pocket you've put it in.
Exactly. I wasn't even thinking of that, Ed.
That could look a bit unfortunate, couldn't it?
It would look a little bit creepy.
That might raise some questions.
We'll check your, mental state to be sure.
Yeah, that might
Oh,
be the
boy.
least of it.
Yeah.